So how was the 3060 Ti launch which happened today? You may be actually pretty surprised. It was a little bit smoother than the other launches. We're going to talk about the launch today as well as do a buying guide. Should you buy this GPU? Where can you still find it in stock? What are going to be your best chances? Let's get started. Hey guys, Tiago with Classical Technology. So let's talk about the 3060 Ti. Today was the actual launch. It happened around 9 a.m. Eastern time, and I'm sure many of you didn't even know the GPU was going to launch before the reviews started coming out yesterday. So it definitely was a little bit surprising. I think we all expected it to come out, but we didn't know the exact day that it was going to happen. Maybe this is part of the strategy to keep people on their toes a little bit, because we know if they tell us an exact time these GPUs are launching, people will be waiting, and the demand has been very high for the stock that has been available. So let's first talk about how this launch went, and then we're going to do a little buying guide for the 3060 Ti. Should you get it versus the 3070? Where are some places you should be checking if you want to find one in stock? So it's been my experience that you can get a pretty good idea of how a launch is going to go by what's happening the night before. For example, during AMD's launch of the 6800, a lot of people that were lined up outside of Micro Center stores for the 6800 and the 6800 XT, they would hear earlier than anywhere else that the stock was really limited, and that's also the first place that we heard that the AIB partner cards were going to have zero stock at all, and that all happened to be pretty true. So yesterday, before the launch, we started seeing on social media that a lot of the partners that are selling these GPUs, a lot of the retailers, they were pretty confident that this launch was going to be better than the 3070 launch. Even though that was still a limited launch, a lot more people got 3070s than they did the AMD cards, as well as the RTX 3080 and 3090. So that was definitely a very good sign to see. And as launch day approached, one of the earliest things that I saw was actually on EVGA. You were able to sign up on their queue system, and this happened even before the 9 a.m. launch time. If you guys haven't checked out EVGA's queue system, it's a way that even I myself have been able to get a GPU. You basically sign up for a notification. You're put in a sort of a queue and a line. Whenever a GPU is available, they're going to send you an email, and you'll have about 8 hours, unless they change the rules. It should be about 8 hours to respond to that email, check out. That way you know that at least eventually it's coming. The 3080 that I had signed up for took maybe like a month and a half, almost 2 months. It certainly took a while, but the 3090 certainly was a lot faster. It took maybe around 4 to 5 weeks. I'm assuming maybe the 3060 Ti, because there's going to be more inventory. If you get there early enough, you may be able to get it a lot sooner than you expect. So that EVGA Queue system is definitely one of the best ways to be able to get it. And even today, I personally went into Micro Center to check out what was happening. Now, I didn't plan to get there early. I actually went there a little bit closer to the afternoon because I wasn't really looking to get a 3060 Ti. I just wanted to see what the experience of people there was, maybe what the news on the ground actually was, and I needed some other items. So for you guys, I know I always mention Micro Center, and they do have them scattered around the country. Not everywhere is going to have them, and of course, overseas doesn't have them as well. I even did a little video of some of the really cool sections of the store. I want to show it to you guys now, including sort of like the water cooling section, you know, the motherboard section, just so you guys know how awesome that this store is. Hey guys, so I'm at my local Micro Center looking around. This is their water cooling section for a lot of people that don't have a Micro Center near them. Look at all the cool stuff they have. A little display. That's from EK. Then you can find all the products like on the bottom here. This side, they have all the Corsair liquid cooling stuff with a display. I know a lot of you guys have asked about Micro Center if you don't have one near you. And here, got some AIOs. Everything from Corsair, Kraken. Then you have all these cases on display. Everything from Corsair to Lee. So that's basically Micro Center. It's like a toy store for computer parts. Basically everything you would find that's like really cool, like on Amazon or Newegg, you can see in a real store and buy it there and leave the same day. So it's definitely really cool. I wish they had more of these worldwide and across the United States. But anyway, I also asked some of the people there, how did the launch go in the morning? And apparently they had over 150 3060 Ti's. So they said most people that had lined up really early were able to get one. I think it sold out probably within an hour of them opening, but this is still considerably better than like the 10 to 12 GPUs from the AMD launch, as well as the limited RTX 3080 launch. The 3070 maybe had at least 100 GPUs or something like that. So the 3060 Ti definitely objectively we can say that even though it's still limited according to the demand that's out there, a lot more people certainly were able to get their hands on this GPU, and that's the biggest proof. 150 GPUs. Now that's what I consider at least fair for a launch day. When you have 10 to 12, that's really almost insulting. Like, nobody's gonna get that, especially when you already have like 40 people lined up outside. How will 10 to 12 GPUs even fulfill a minor amount of demand? That's really very low stock. It has nothing to do with high demand. Now 150 GPUs, certainly a lot more fair. Of course, by the time I got there in the afternoon, they had all sold out, like I said, within the first hour or so. But if you were there early enough, you definitely had a pretty good chance at getting these GPUs. And aside from the fact that you could actually pick one up today, and a lot of them were available, a lot of people went home happy, these GPUs were being sold at MSRP. You don't have to pay some crazy outrageous premium. In fact, they even had, it seemed like 25 or more of the Founders Edition at $399, and a lot of the other third-party GPUs were somewhere between $400 to $450. Only the real high-end ones like the Asus Strix were more than that. So the premium that they're charging for these GPUs seems really fair, and I kind of mentioned that because we all saw the AIB 6800 and 6800 XT AMD cards, and a lot of people certainly were a little bit surprised, to say the least, about the AIB pricing of those GPUs. They seem to carry a pretty considerable premium, much more in fact than some of these 3060 Ti's and even some of the higher end 3080s do command. So certainly good to see these GPUs at MSRP. I mean, technically, if you were there early enough, you could have walked away with a Founders Edition for $399, and the 3060 Ti for that price is certainly a pretty good value. Now, how about the rest of the internet? The people that don't have micro centers, the people that maybe didn't have a chance to go in locally, and that's of course going to be the majority of people. Now, I did see that a lot of people were able to get it at Best Buy. Now, keep in mind that the actual store didn't have them in person. Only online sales were available for this, and it didn't seem to go live exactly at 9 a.m. It went live, I don't know the exact time, but it was a few hours later, and they do their system where you can add to cart, but it makes you wait, and then you can add it. So the online system continues to be a little bit frustrating. I'm sure for a lot of people that actually couldn't get a GPU and they had issues. I checked myself at 9 in the morning, and even on Newegg, it took a while for stuff to pop up. And of course, you always get a slow, laggy website. For a lot of people, it may seem like this launch was just as bad as the other ones, but believe it or not, if you look in the general perspective of things across all of the channels, including the retail channels and online, there were definitely more of these GPUs available. It doesn't mean you could easily get one. I think even I tried myself online to take a look. A lot of people still had a lot of the issues that we had on the other ones. So at least from some people's personal experience, it was still kind of a tough launch because it isn't an instant, easy to get GPU. It's still going to sell out really quick, but it was definitely available in greater quantities than pretty much all of the other new GPUs that came out, including the ones from AMD and nvidia. So if you're still looking to get a 3060 Ti, of course, try the EVGA system like I mentioned. Go to your local micro center, try Best Buy online, even nvidia's website, see if they're going to put it up there. So I would basically just keep checking those, because as we've seen the last few weeks, there definitely has been restocking of the 3070, 3080, 3090. People have been getting them more and more, so they haven't completely disappeared. Now, the AMD GPUs since launch day do seem to be a little bit missing. I haven't really heard too much of them restocking anywhere at all, maybe just the AMD website once in a while, but most of the other retailers, like even Micro Center, since launch day, they haven't gotten any restocking of these AMD GPUs. But the nvidia GPUs, of course, have been out a little bit longer, so certainly they have been seeing some more restocking numbers. So then, stock and availability aside of the 3060 Ti, should you buy one? Is it something that makes sense compared to the other GPUs? I think it's actually a great performing GPU from the price. To sum up all of the reviews, basically it's performing pretty close to a 2080 Super, and last generation that was a GPU that cost considerably more, and of course it's going to be performing a little bit less than a 3070. It's not an entire tier down from a 3070 by any means, but you're definitely going to get a decent amount less frames per second than a 3070. They both have the same 8 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM, so you're not really going to be missing anything there. In general, it's just going to perform a little less with frames per second. It's not going to be as good with ray tracing, but talking about ray tracing for $399. This is certainly going to be one of the most powerful GPUs that you can get for the price if you want to do some ray tracing as well. Of course, the ray tracing performance won't be anything like the 3080, but it's still going to be respectable in some games. Combined with DLSS, you should be able to play some newer titles like Cyberpunk 2077, while if you remember, the AMD GPUs such as the 6800, $579, with the AMD ray tracing not being as good as NVIDIA's for the most part, even a much cheaper GPU like the 3060 Ti can certainly put up some very impressive numbers when it comes to ray tracing. So unless you're comparing traditional rasterization and frames per second performance, where the 6800 is faster, it's also faster than the 3070 by a pretty good margin in some games. If you throw in ray tracing, that margin definitely is going to diminish, especially with DLSS. So a GPU at $399 like the 3060 Ti, and especially if they stock this more frequently, I really think this might be the go-to GPU for many people if they have a hard time finding a 3070, or if they don't want to pony up the extra $100. I think it's going to be a very competent GPU. I mean, last generation, if you were gaming on a 2080 Super, you were pretty good for most games, even like 4K, even though it's not going to be the fastest like a 2080 Ti, or even like a 3070, 3080 might be in 4K. You can still be at least respectable with a little bit lower settings, even with the 3060 Ti. But of course, if you're getting a 3060 Ti, your optimal resolution here is probably going to be 1440p. Of course, high refresh rate gaming, 1080p, it's going to do that pretty well. But I would say 1440p really is going to be the sweet spot. Maybe ultra wide, as that's not demanding as 4K. 4K is going to be pushing it a little bit. I really think if you want to do 4K, you should be looking at least a 3070, but preferably a 3080 if you can get your hands on. All right, guys, so thank you very much for watching. Let me know down below if you were able to get a 3060 Ti today, or if you're still holding on for another GPU. Remember to subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.